Hi everybody, I'm Beth. I'm from Hungry Happenings, and I just want to thank you for joining me tonight. This is my first time on Facebook Live. I thought I'd jump on and introduce myself and tell you a little bit about me and maybe learn a little bit about you too. And then I'm going to show you a little demonstration of a cupcake I've been working on this week. I created some Finding Dory sea otters and they're adorable. So, but before we want to do that, we get into that, I just want to thank you for becoming a fan of the Hungry Happenings Facebook page. I've been very slow to jump on social media, and this year I've been working really hard with the help of my friend Nikki, who's behind the camera tonight. Thank you, Nikki. She's here for technical support, moral support, and to run the camera because I know very little about my phone. I'm learning though. But I just want to thank you for joining us. We've been working really hard to find really fun things to share with you. And I hope you've enjoyed seeing all the recipes and the crafts and the funny videos we throw in along the way just to, make you smile. So I want to say hello to everybody that's out there, if anyone's joined us yet. For those of you that have, I'm Beth from Hungry Happenings. And but I'm going to show you a little bit about myself today. I want to show you my candy factory. But before we start, I want to ask you a question. When you saw Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory for the very first time, what was your impression? When you left the movie theater or you stopped the video, how did you feel afterwards? I'm a child of the 70s, and I got to see the original in the movie theater, and I sat in just total awe. I was mesmerized. I could not imagine anything more amazing than being Charlie Bucket and getting to win the opportunity to go to see Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. And I just, beyond that, the thought of winning the Chocolate Factory and getting to live there was just beyond any wild imagination I could possibly have. And I have to say, I'm really excited that I'm living it. I actually live inside of a little mini chocolate factory, and it is amazing. So I want to say hi, Brenda. Thanks for joining. I think you're the first one on tonight, so I appreciate you stopping by. I actually do live in a little chocolate factory. I have had 2 retail stores. I had my first one down in Kentucky in Louisville. And I owned and operated that for about 6 years, and I was in love with it. It was so much fun, but I missed my hometown in Ohio, so I moved back home, sold that store, opened up another one in Ohio, and after a handful of years, sadly, I got very ill and I had to close my store. So when I did that, I had a buyer, but I backed out. I really thought, I want to take this with me. I want to be able to hold on to my customers, and I want to be able to continue making chocolates. So I did take a few years off, but once I started feeling better again, I revved up my machines and I started making chocolate again. So tonight I'm going to let you peek inside my candy factory. So
let's see
come
it.
with me and let's see it. I have 2 amazing machines that keep all of my chocolate, my milk and dark chocolate, melted and in pure temper, which is wonderful. So there are 2 Savage Brother machines, and I can melt up to 50 pounds of chocolate at any one given time, which is absolutely amazing. I used to do a lot of corporate gifts, and I would go through that 50 pounds of chocolate every afternoon. So you want to see inside? It's pretty amazing. The machine, like I said, will hold up to 50 pounds of chocolate, and I'll turn it on. It makes a little noise, but you can see the chocolate flowing. Believe me, it is very hard to live in a house where there's chocolate all the time. At any given time, I can have up to 500 pounds of chocolate in the house. It makes dieting very hard, but it is quite enjoyable. We can come down at night if we want and have some ice cream and pour out some chocolate. We make hot chocolate out of this. So let me show you the magic here. When I open this spigot, the chocolate just flows right out. So good. So I have dark chocolate, and then I also have a machine that does milk chocolate. And I love this milk chocolate. It is so rich and so creamy. It is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, 50 watching.
I use Peter's chocolate, and if you've never heard of them, this is my absolute favorite brand of chocolate, and my milk chocolate I use is Ultra, Milk Chocolate Ultra. It's just got a really wonderful caramel flavor to it. It's so good. And I buy big 50-pound boxes. They come in 10-pound bars like this. And then I break up the bars and create...
Susan wishes she was your neighbor.
Yes, Nikki is my neighbor. Believe me, my neighbors do get a lot of treats, that's for sure.
They sure do. I can attest to that.
So I break up the chocolate into pieces like this, and I feed my machines every night. So these machines have been in this house for about 14 years, and they're always melted, always ready to go. It's heaven. Yeah, so I may not have fruit-flavored wallpaper. I don't have geese that lay golden eggs, which, oh my gosh, I wish I did at Easter time. Be so nice to have that. And I don't have a chocolate river and a big forest full of candy flowers and trees, but I have these. So this is the next best thing. It's pretty cool. So in my little area here, I have all my ingredients that I need for all my chocolate making and all my treat making. Those of you that have kids, this would be really, really challenging, I'm sure, because it's hard enough for me and my husband not to run in here and eat, you know, Oreo cookies and Reese's Cups and Rice Krispie treats and everything else you can imagine is in here. These are my little bins. For those of you that follow me along on Hungry Happenings, I create food crafts. So I have every kind of candy and chocolate imaginable in here. I use these. These are little carrots that I used on some Easter Bunny cupcakes I made earlier this year. And sprinkles, do I have sprinkles? Oh my gosh. I have drawers and drawers.
We have Donna.
And more drawers.
Hi Donna, hi Letitia, nice to have you with us.
So many things. Thanks for joining us, guys. This is really fun. I also have tools, every kind of fondant making tool, chocolate modeling chocolate tools. So this is how I come up with all of the ideas that I have. I use all of these tools and all of these treats to be able to create all the fun crafts for you. So I have the luxury of having this really nice space. And then I have a traditional kitchen over here as well, where I do my regular cooking and a lot of cleaning. More cleaning than you want to know. It's beautiful, it's clean right now, but believe me, I worked really hard to get it that way today. So.
Glenda, you're funny. She says, how do you not weigh 300 pounds? It's hard, yeah.
That is hard work. I actually, yeah, it's really hard because I love chocolate. I love candy. I love cupcakes. I love cookies. There's very little that I don't love when it comes to sweets. I'm not a big sour candy person, but other than that, pretty much any candy you put in front of me, even black licorice, I know a lot of people hate that, but I love it. I love coconut. I love everything. So it is very hard to not weigh 300 pounds. I work hard at that too, but.
Donna says she would love to be there.
So yeah, so when I create my treats for my blog, one of the interesting things about blogging, for those of you that don't blog, is you create all these treats and then you don't necessarily have a function to bring them to, or I don't have any children of my own, so it's just my husband and I here. So I give away a lot of my treats. So my neighbors are my best friends. They do get to enjoy the fruits of my labor.
She won't tell you this, but she also gives to kids in the neighborhood that are needy. So thank you, Beth. We love you.
There is a group that I do that, and that's been really exciting because I'll save up a lot of my treats, or if I'm making a really large cake or something like that, I will get to share it with some of the kids in the neighborhood or in the area that are needy, and it's been really great to be able to do that. So I've loved that.
Amy says, it looks like heaven. Hi from Alberta, Canada.
Wow, hi. Welcome.
And we have Barb saying she loves your chocolate factory. Would you like to adopt her?
We actually, my husband and I have had 3 exchange students, and they have all loved living here in the chocolate factory. So I'm always looking for exchange students. So, you know, from Alberta to Canada, we can have an exchange student.
We have, Dronda wants to know if there are any vegan goodies. Do you make any vegan goodies?
You know, I have to admit, I have not delved into that too much. I did just do a gluten-free treat on my website. But the one thing that I do is I try to create treats that can be created using your own recipes. So like the cupcakes I'm going to show you tonight. Now, you may have to find alternatives because I'll be very honest with you, I'm not really familiar with the vegan diet and what is good and what is not good. But when I show you how to create something, you can use your own recipe. So if you don't want to use the chocolate cupcake recipe that I'm using, you can substitute. Use your own chocolate cupcake recipe and then turn it into the treat that I'm doing. A lot of times, I have to say, when I started blogging, I really wanted to make sure that I created unique recipes for everything I was making. But then I was finding that it was so hard to take the time to create the recipe plus create the actual cute treat. So I do have to say that a lot of times I will just use a cake mix or something like that, which I know a lot of people think is taboo, but I'll do that just because I want to spend the time in my tutorial showing you how to create the decorated treat. So, but there are many recipes on my website, like the little cupcakes I'm going to show you tonight. I have an ultimate chocolate cupcake recipe on my website that has a chocolate ganache, which is absolutely amazing. So you could use that. I will admit this was made with the chocolate cake mix because a lot of times when I'm creating these, I'm just whipping through them and I want to have a lot of cupcakes. I throw them in my freezer and I'm not eating them. Not that I want to give people anything bad, but I think they're fine the way they are. And kids appreciate, you know, whether it's a homemade chocolate cupcake or a box mix. They just think the otter's so darn cute, they want to eat it. And so if I'm baking for my family, I absolutely love to bake from scratch. Love it. So any more questions?
Not right now. Let's see something. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to show you tonight a couple of the treats that I've been showing on my blog recently. I just made some flag pretzels, American flag pretzels. There are 5 different pretzel sticks that have been dipped in some red and white candy melts and then a little blue candy melts on them. So the tutorial for those is on hungryhappenings.com right now. And then something else that's been very popular this week are these little tiny mini cupcakes in little shot glasses, and these happen to have little rainbow nerds in them. They're just the perfect size little treat for a kid's birthday party, or when I have a party, I have so many different sweets on my tables that I like to have things that are bite-sized so people can try little bits of different things. So these are perfect, the perfect little size, and I've done the larger cupcakes in wine glasses filled with candy, and it is a lot. It's a lot to give to a kid. This is a perfect 2-bite cupcake, little handful of candy, and they're good to go. So that tutorial is on the website as well. Now this tutorial I have not created yet for my website. I just made these yesterday. And if you've not seen the Finding Dory movie, I'm so excited to go see it. Can't wait. These are the little otters. This is a little coloring page that you can see it has schmutz all over it because I've been working at this as a design. Now I couldn't come up with the exact, I worked very hard to get these little otter cookies, but I really didn't get them to look exactly like the Disney version of them, but I think they're really cute anyway. So I'm going to show you how to make those today. Each of the cupcakes, like I said, I just used a regular store-bought cupcake, and actually I'll have to admit that I didn't even make my frosting. I just used Wilton's. I like Wilton's chocolate better than any of the other tubs if you're going to use tubs. Traditionally, I would make my own homemade chocolate frosting, but I just didn't have time. But this is really thick, so it's really nice to pipe a big swirl on top of a cupcake. So I've just got a star tip on my in my pastry bag, and I just piped a nice big swirl. For these cupcakes, when you do the ones with the Reese's cups on them, you need a really big swirl. I will admit this is a very serious dessert. There's a lot of dessert here, a lot of frosting, a lot of cupcake, and a lot of Reese's cup. It's kind of a shareable type of dessert. So, but when I decorate my cupcakes, a lot of times I will use candy. But for this particular cupcake, I decided that modeling chocolate was going to be best because I really wanted to get very specific shapes on my Reese's cups. So if you haven't used modeling chocolate before, it is basically chocolate and corn syrup. It is super easy to make, but there can be some issues with it. You can have greasy, you can have dry, crumbly modeling chocolate. I have a fantastic tutorial on my website. If you go to the hungryhappenings.com and you go to the chocolate making tips page, it will show you how to fix greasy, dry, crumbly modeling chocolate. But like I said, it is 2 simple ingredients and it tastes so much better than fondant. I work with fondant on occasion, but I don't really love the flavor of it all that much, so I'd much rather work with modeling chocolate. So this, what I've used for my little Reese's Cup Otters is 3 different colors or blends of color of modeling chocolate. I have black, which I typically, when I use black, I will start with a semi-sweet chocolate to create the modeling chocolate. Then I will add black food coloring. If you start with a white modeling or white chocolate to make your candy clay, and then you add black food coloring, a lot of times it'll turn more gray than black. So when I want a really deep black, which I do for the nose on the otters, I'll use semi-sweet chocolate to make the modeling chocolate and then add black. Brown, I just use my milk chocolate, and because I wanted this to be as deep as the Reese's Cup, as the same color as the Reese's Cup, the milk chocolate that I use happens to be fairly light in color. It's almost a caramel color. So I did actually blend a little bit of the black into the brown, just to get a really nice color there. Then this color that I'm going to use for the fur on the sea otter, I blended some white, some creamy white color and some of the milk chocolate together and just kind of came up with a little bit of a marbled look. So just mix the 2 together, but don't mix them completely. Then you get a little bit of, can you see that marbleization in there? So just take the 2 colors, you can take the 2 colors together, and I probably should have shown, here, let me show you that with this dark chocolate. I'll take some of this and some of the lighter color. If you take the 2 and just push them together and then twist them a little bit and then smush it together and maybe twist it a little bit more, when you smush it together again, you'll get this nice marble effect as opposed to blending it all together to make a lighter color. Now this one, obviously I used a little bit more white, so it's got a nice light color to it. One of my absolute favorite kitchen tools ever is this Wilton Flexi Mat. I think it's called Easy Flex Mat. It's a silicone mat. It's a really nice size. It fits onto my cutting or onto my cookie sheets. And if I use a fondant roller, this is also a Wilton fondant roller, it doesn't stick. So I can roll out my modeling chocolate or fondant, and you see how easy that is? It picks right up. It is fantastic.
We have Roxy joining us, and she says chocolate is way better than fondant as far as taste goes.
Oh, I so agree, so agree. And if you've never tried modeling chocolate, it tastes just like the chocolate. It has the texture of a Tootsie Roll. It's very similar in texture to fondant, but the flavor is fantastic. And you can use any chocolate you want. So if you really, really love Calibo, dark chocolate, or Ghirardelli milk chocolate or something like that, you can use it to make your modeling chocolate and it will taste exactly like the candy you're using. So we're just going to roll this out really thin, and then I have a small little round cookie cutter. I've got this cookie cutter that's round on one side and kind of fluted on the other side. I chose to use the fluted side just because I wanted the cheeks of fur to kind of have a little dimension to them. So I'm just going to cut out 2 of those for each of the little tufts of fur. And then I'm going to use this fondant tool. You could use a toothpick if you don't have this fondant tool. It's a tool that's got a little tip to it.
Oh, so you can use a toothpick instead?
Yeah, a toothpick will work just fine. And you just want to take the fondant tool and kind of run it over. I kind of start just by making a few little whisker lines, and then I go back, and I want kind of a little furry look on the ends of this. So I'm going to take my tool and really work the ends to get them to look a little bit more fuzzy and furry.
Oh,
and then
great.
You can add more in there if you want. Now when you do the other one, it's a little hard if you're right-handed. You've got to go the opposite way on this one. So you've got to make it so that it's going off to the left. So I have to hold it a little bit. So you see how quick and easy that is? You can make them as furry as you want. Now if you don't have this little round cutter with the scallops, you can use a regular round cutter. And if you do that, you just want to make sure that you get the ends really pulled out with the tool. But you can see you get a really nice look to that as well.
Let's recap what we're making.
Yeah. So for those of you that have just joined us, we are working on a demonstration of making some little Sea Otter cupcakes. They're my version of Finding Dory cupcakes. And we're working with some modeling chocolate right now to show you how you can make the decorations that go on top of the Reese's cup. So I've just finished making the cute little furry patches. When I looked at these little sea otters, they have lots of whiskers. And originally I drew them on with, I just used a black food coloring marker on the Reese's cup and tried to make the whiskers. And it looked really cute, but they didn't really get that whole essence of being a furry sea otter. So I decided to use some modeling chocolate to make them have little puffy cheeks. So we finished both of the little pieces for their cheeks. And then we need to make some eyes. So for the eyes, you're going to take some black modeling chocolate and roll that out. Now, a couple of my other favorite things, if you work with fondant a lot, you've got to get yourself a set of plunger cutters. If you've ever tried cutting with just a regular tiny little cutter, you have to stick a stick or something down into the cutter to get them out, and then you end up with an indentation on the front side of the modeling chocolate. These plunger cutters are amazing. If you want to get in really close to show this, Nikki.
Roxy says these are so cute.
Oh, thank you, Roxy. So this plunger cutter actually has a little spring in it. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to push it down into my modeling chocolate, lift it up, and just pop it, and it pops right out. It comes out perfectly round. There's no indentations on it. They come in daisy shapes and leaves and flowers and circles and squares and rectangles. I absolutely love these. I've got a whole drawer full of these as well. So we're going to need 2 eyes for each of our otters. And then I'm going to use the same plunger cutter to make his ears. So the otter's got little tiny ears on the side of him. So I'm going to just roll this out. But now this time with my deeper, darker milk chocolate, modeling chocolate, I want this to be kind of thick because I want the ears to have a little bit of stability because they're actually going to stick onto the sides of the Reese's cups. So I'm going to use the exact same plunger cutter. Now I may not have gotten this quite, nope, I didn't get it quite thin enough. You need it thin enough so that it actually can get cut by the plunger cutter.
Susan would like to know where you get the plunger cutter.
So I have ordered all of mine from Amazon. I know that there's the cake decorating stores. We have one in our local area, and they sell them. Now Wilton does make some, so you can find some at Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, places like that. But I've had the best luck. You can buy entire sets for like $15 or $20, and they've got, I don't know how many of them in there. So they're not terribly expensive, and they're just fantastic. So I'm going to cut 2 of these ears. Then, because these ears are going to attach to the sides of the Reese's cup, I need them to have a little bit of curvature so that they can go up against the Reese's cup. So I'm going to take the same plunger cutter and just cut off a little bit of the round, the circle, so that I have little like half moons. So those will go up against the the side of the Reese's cup. Okay, so we have the otter's eyes, we've got his ears, and we've got his little tufts of fur. Now we need some noses. And for the noses, I just pinched off a little piece of the black modeling chocolate and kind of rolled it into a ball and then rolled it into, and it's kind of an oval shape. It's got a little point to it on each end. You don't have to be exact. Make it look like a jelly bean and it'll be fine. Kind of roundish and flatten it out just a little bit for the nose. Okay, so we have all the pieces for one of the otters. Then I need a Reese's cup. So just unwrap the Reese's cup. And then you can use melted chocolate to attach your pieces. I didn't feel like melting any chocolate, so I'm just going to use some piping gel. Those of you that use fondant often probably know what this is. It's a clear, very sticky I don't even know what it's like a sugar syrup. It's almost like a really, really thick version of corn syrup. And it works really well as glue, but the trick is you want to use just a real small amount of it. So when I want to attach my ears to the side of the Reese's cup, I'm just going to brush a really thin coating of the piping gel on here, and then I'm going to attach an ear to the side of a Reese's cup, and then give them one on the other side. If you put too much of this on there, they'll start to slide off after a while. Okay, and then. You have a question?
One of our friends says it's a fun grandkids project to keep them busy.
Absolutely.
And another person says, too good to eat, love them.
I do have to say, I have a friend of mine who I oftentimes give treats to, and she very rarely eats them. She brings them home. She has an entire shelf in her living room filled with my treats. So she just can't bear to eat them, which is really, really fun.
Reese's Cups never make it home, haha.
I get that. That is definitely one of our favorite candies around here. We love them. Okay, so I'm going to put the two little fur things. So if we're looking at the otter going this way, we've got our two little pieces of fur. There's whiskers there. And then we're going to attach a nose. With the little nose. And then his eyes. Now, if you want to really go all out, you can add some yellow. These otters actually have a little yellow to their eyes, the movie characters do, but I found that a little bit too much work, so try to keep the craft a little bit easier. All right, so we've got two little eyes. Then the otters have a really nice highlight to their eyes. And you can do this a couple different ways. You can cut out little small pieces of modeling chocolate and attach them, or you can simply just take some white, super white food coloring and just paint them on. And I just found this to be a little bit easier. Plus it's really vibrant. You get a really nice vibrant color by doing this.
Amy notices the whiskers kind of look like the Lorax guys.
Oh yeah, they do! Oh my gosh, that's a great idea. I'll have to think about that. I'll have to create some Lorax cupcakes. That is really, really good.
And Deronda says they're cute even without the cake part.
Yeah, they are. They absolutely are. I mean, they would be good. Oh, this one needs a little bit more to attach. They would be great treats just on their own. You could, if you wanted, you could take a little bit of chocolate and attach a stick and make little lollipops out of them, or just leave them the way they are. But I'm going to attach them to a cupcake. Now, one of the things with the cupcakes, I've done quite a few of these Reese's Cup cupcakes. I've done puppies and bunnies and teddy bears and reindeer and I think, did I do turkeys? No, I didn't think I did turkeys. But I've done quite a few of them. And a couple of the readers have commented that when they put their cupcakes or the Reese's Cup onto the cupcake, they fall over. Well, you need to use really sturdy frosting, and that's what I was saying earlier. I usually use chocolate ganache frosting because I absolutely love how it tastes. And it's two ingredients. It's heavy whipping cream and chocolate, and there's a recipe on my Ultimate Chocolate Cupcakes. If you look that up in my search bar, you'll find the recipe for ganache frosting, which I absolutely love. But I didn't want to take the effort today, so I just used this frosting from Wilton, and it's really sturdy, which I really like. The other tub frostings isn't going to work. They're just too soft. If you use them, you might have to add either powdered sugar or cocoa powder, maybe even some chocolate to it. But you want to use really sturdy frosting. If you don't have really sturdy frosting, another thing you can do, I believe it was the very last Reese's Cup cupcake I did, and it must have been the bunnies. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was the, I made leprechauns at St. Patrick's Day out of Oreos, actually. And I showed you how you can create a chocolate pick. So you can pipe some chocolate and then set your Reese's Cup on that little pick of chocolate, make it like a triangle, and let it harden, and then you've got a chocolate pick that you can actually set down into your cupcake. So, but on this, because my frosting's sturdy enough, I'm just going to set it right in. If you need to, you can pipe, you can take behind, from behind and add a little bit more frosting just to kind of get it to sit up there. And I know it's a lot of frosting. I'm a frosting girl, so I like that. Then we're going to, sorry, this is going to take a little while, but I will get this tutorial written and get this up on my website very shortly. And there it will have a printable cupcake wrapper that you'll be able to print out and use to put around the cupcakes. Question?
Roxy would like to know, could you use royal icing as an anchor?
Oh, I think that would work. Yeah, definitely. Anything that will harden, just give it a long enough time for it to actually harden into the pick. I'm pretty sure it will stick to the Reese's cup. You may have to test that out. I've not tested it out with the royal icing. I know I've used candy melts and I've used pure tempered chocolate, and both of them seem to work pretty well. So, so with the printable cupcake wrappers, they're just little waves, and you can just cut them out, print them on regular paper or cardstock. I actually like a really glossy paper. And then you just take it and you wrap it around your cupcake so it looks like the ocean. And then we're going to give him some hands. And I think on all of my cupcakes that I've done this way, I have used whoppers as hands. They just work really well. They're the right size to make little paws for bears and dogs and bunnies and everything. So you're going to add 2 little paws down here. And then my sea otters are working on cracking the shell of a seashell, oyster or whatever. So I have a tutorial for homemade chocolate shells that I just did this summer, and they look fantastic. But I thought I would show you another option. These are coppers. They're chocolate candy shells. They're like a, all right, I'm going to say it, they're kind of like an M&M. They're hard candy on the outside, chocolate on the inside. They taste really good, and they come in all these different colorful shells. So you can just take a shell and stick it on your sea otter so it looks like he's eating a shell. Let's see how he looks from here. Looks pretty good. So now you have we have a little family of sea otters here, getting ready to go for the Finding Dory. It's really funny. I watched 3 previews of the Finding Dory movie, and finally when we were at the movie theater the other day, I saw the otters. So I was really excited to see the otters. I know they're not one of the major characters in the movie, but for those of you that have seen Finding Dory, they're adorable. The little otters are absolutely adorable. So I hope you like the cupcakes. I will be back again soon, maybe not soon, but very soon, to show you some more tutorials. I have to admit, cleaning up my kitchen to do this. If you don't mind my messy kitchen, I may hop on here some days just to show you something as I'm working in my total disaster of a kitchen. I'm a slob. I will admit it. I am the sloppiest cook in the world. When I'm working and I'm creating, the other day when I created these cupcakes, this entire table was filled with all sorts of different candies I was trying out. When I created design, I tried jelly beans for the nose. I tried, Reese's cup, or M&Ms and Reese's Pieces and things for the ears. I finally decided that I just thought that the Molly chocolate looked the best. So I play with all the options. I try to come up with something that's easy. If you don't want to make Molly chocolate, you can certainly use fondant for these. You could also, a lot of times when I use something brown, you can use Tootsie Rolls. So Tootsie Rolls would work here. Now the black, I really wanted black, so that was one of the main reasons I went with the Molly chocolate. Was so
everyone says, don't worry about your kitchen. They're not focusing on that.
Well, that's good.
They said, just keep showing it.
All right. I know I, for years, wanted to do videos, and have to admit the fear of doing the video and then having to edit the video. It was just one more thing for me to learn, and I work really hard to create incredibly detailed tutorials on my website, and they take me a long time. So I know my stuff is great for video, so I love this opportunity to be able to get on here live and just do it without having to produce it or edit it or anything like that. So I'll be back. I'm sure I'll be back. I'm so glad you stopped by tonight. And are there any more questions before we go?
Yes, it says the eyes are really shiny. What did I miss to get them like that?
Well, some of them, are you talking about the little white dot or the actual eye? The black part of the eye.
It just says the eyes are really shiny. Well, Let's see here.
The whites of the eyes were made with a little dot of white food coloring. And if you're looking at the 2 cupcakes that I created earlier, it was so hot in my kitchen that the modeling chocolate started melting. I think it was like almost 80 degrees in my kitchen this afternoon. It's so hot here right now. Mm-hmm. So you might be seeing little beads of condensation because I had these in a Rubbermaid container. And when I pulled them out, they were sweating. Like, you know, we do. They were sweating. So, I mean, that is one thing about modeling chocolate that you do have to contend with, is that it's chocolate and it will melt. So fondant is a little bit more stable in that respect. When you're creating modeling chocolate for something that you're going to serve in a room that's cold, it's fantastic because it'll harden and firm up. You can sculpt anything out of it. I have done so many modeling chocolate projects. One of the things actually I did, which would be so cool on here, if you look back, I have some cupcake wrappers that are made out of blue modeling chocolate, and they look like waves. So a couple years ago, I did some cupcakes that have, I think they're called ocean cupcakes or ocean themed cupcakes, like something like that on the website. And I actually took blue modeling chocolate and created a cupcake wrapper shaped like this. And then actually I think they were kind of shaped straight. But when you wrap it around, then the entire thing is edible. So, and they're great because the modeling chocolate will firm up enough that it'll hold its shape really well. But it's still, when you bite into it, it still melts in your mouth. It's still really soft. It's wonderful.
Roxy says, thank you so much for this. It's 102, so she's baking vicariously through you.
Oh, gosh. All right, we didn't have it quite that bad here today, but wow. That's hot.
Our friend Danielle says, please keep the live streams coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming in, or watching tonight. I really appreciate it, and I will be back soon. Be sure to stop by Hungry Happenings, and on Facebook, we've been so happy with all the comments, likes, and shares. It's been great. We're really trying to grow our Facebook page, so share it with your friends. Share this video with your friends. I'd love it. So,
thanks,
and
Beth.
like I said, the tutorial for the cupcakes will be out probably next week.
Thank you, Beth.
Thanks, guys. Bye.